By listening to this podcast, you agree to not use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical condition in yourself or others, including, but not limited to, patients that you are treating. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the podcast. Under no circumstances shall any guests or contributors to the podcast or any employees, associates, or affiliates of the Neuroendocrine Cancer Awareness Network be responsible for damages arising from use of this podcast. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Let's Get Real. I am your host, Mike Wahmann. I am joined by a co-host today, my mom, the founder of NCAN, Maryann. Hi, Ma. How are you?
Hello, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on board with this episode. It's definitely a subject that we definitely want to bring more to the forefront this coming year, high-grade tumors. I think we thought it was really important for Mom to be here involved in this episode because, she's kind of leading the forge on that. So, thank you. Before we get started with that, though, we have a patient, Shari Schultz. She's going to be joining us today. But before we get into that, March 11th is our next conference, Silver Springs, Maryland. Go to netcancerawareness.org for more information on that. Registration is open. We've got Dr. Aman Chauhan. We have Heidi Del Rivero, a bunch of other great doctors. Go register and find out a little bit about the 4 other events we have going on across the country. You could also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, follow LinkedIn, and what's the other one? Facebook, where we have Mom takes care of 40 some odd Facebook groups. It's overwhelming. It's too much. But yes, follow us there, Net Cancer Aware. And without further ado, our guest today is a NET patient, Shari Schultz. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Shari, for being here. So, Shari, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
I am, let's see, I live in Charleston, South Carolina. I am 63 years old. I was 60 when I was diagnosed. I have a daughter. I'm single. I live by myself. So, one of the things that I do is I have my little lifeline that I keep around my neck. I am as independent as I possibly can. My career was in graphic design and communications, and I taught college for 12 years until my school closed. And I did not want to move. I'm too close to retirement. So I started actually teaching K-12, and the last group of children that I taught were actually elementary school kids, and it was absolutely amazing. What a great way to end my career. I had a corporate career prior to teaching, so I went from corporate to college to little kids who said, Miss Schultz, Miss Schultz. It was great.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, I know you've got a scary diagnosis, and what we want to do is share your story because there isn't enough light brought onto the subject of neuroendocrine carcinoma or high-grade neuroendocrine tumor. When we started the foundation, we did a lot of low grades and things like that. And Bob and I noticed probably about 10 years ago that there was much, much more going on, and that we were getting calls from people who had neuroendocrine carcinoma, and that they were younger people and younger people and younger people. And so we really want to get this out there so people know that they're not alone, and that, how they handle it and how, keeping a positive attitude and, living your life each day to the fullest, how important that is. So, can you share a little bit about your diagnosis and, maybe like who you see, what kind of doctors are you dealing with?
Okay. I was diagnosed in October of 2020, and I've got high-grade neuroendocrine tumors, which is even more rare than high-grade carcinoma. High-grade alone is rare in the neuroendocrine world, but then for me to have high-grade NETs is even more rare. I have a Ki-67 of 25 to 30%. So I'm a little bit lower in a Ki compared to my counterparts that are high-grade carcinoma patients. But I behave like they do, which my tumors behave like they do, if that makes sense.
Right.
I have my primary tumor was baseball size in my stomach, and I'm stage 4. I was stage 4 at diagnosis with Mets, including a golf ball size in my thoracic cavity that unfortunately presses on my esophagus and causes some eating problems. I have about 15 to 20 Mets in my liver and my mediastinum, so I'm kind of peppered throughout. And because of that, I'm considered a palliative patient. I learned about this, or I went to went to the doctor because I'd been experiencing chest pain. And I went through a whole cardiac workup. They detected a hiatal hernia and they sent me on to my GI doc for an endoscopy. I went in thinking they were going to tell me I had to do something about the hiatal hernia, right? And I woke up and he told me that I had a malignant tumor. And I looked at my surgeon, my GI surgeon, and I said, shit. I hope I can say that on here.
Yes, you can.
And then I looked at the nurse and I said, shit. I'd been experiencing chest pain, but I had no idea that it was beyond that. And I had their lab test, or their lab came back as adenocarcinoma. And they referred me to a local oncologist to proceed from there. Mm-hmm. I see a local oncologist who turned out to be actually very good. His name is Dr. Gene Sailors, and he's with now, it was Charleston Oncology. They're now Roper St. Francis Healthcare, Roper St. Francis Oncology. And I also eventually, and I'll tell you this a little more about this later, but connected with Dr. Aman Shahan in Kentucky and at the University of Kentucky. And I've been seeing him as well. So he's part of my team.
Very good. Very good. So, how did you feel when you got diagnosed? I mean, being diagnosed with a malignant tumor is hard enough, but then to find out it's a high grade, were you taken back? How did you explain to your family and your friends what was going on?
Well, I was a total deer in headlights. I had no idea. They warned me not to go online and search. And in some respects, they're right. There's a lot of information out there about low grades, and it would have steered me in a very unlikely expectation. It would have steered me to expectations that weren't reality for me. My gut reaction, of course, was, we'll just take it out. Right. I didn't know that I was stage 4. I didn't know I had the Mets in the beginning. So I thought, okay, little did I know. I thought I'll just remove it. My mind raced. How do I tell my daughter? How do I tell my family? Like, I have the C word, and it's really difficult. The following week, they wasted no time. I'm going to give them credit for this. They wasted no time. The next week I had my endoscopic ultrasound. I had my port put in, and I had my consult with Dr. Sailors. But that same week, I started making phone calls to the Medical University of South Carolina to get a second opinion before I even started chemo. I think it's really important. I felt like I was pressured to choose an oncologist that was going to keep me alive longest. And that's
Right.
really hard to do when you're brand new and somebody just told you that you have cancer. But
Right.
you have to do it. You have to just stop crying and focus on the business side of keeping yourself alive. I hate to call it the business side, but there is a side to it that is not emotional.
Right.
So in the end, I sought out 2 opinions. I sought out that opinion and eventually Dr. Shahan, and they all looked at my pathology and they all gave me the same answer when I asked them that big question. What is the life expectancy of somebody with a similar diagnosis? What is the average life expectancy? I know you can't tell me about me, but what am I looking at here? And all 3 of them have said 2 to 4 years. And 2 to 4 years, it's like, okay, that means I'm in the starting block and I'm about to run a 2 to 4 year race of my life.
Right.
Because if that's what I have left, I'm not going to lay around and waste it.
Correct.
So it was a really interesting way to look at it. Now, I explained to my friends and my family, I have a rare cancer in general. On top of that, I have a rare fast growing segment of that cancer. So I call myself a zebra unicorn. I'm weirder than weird. So if you thought I was weird before, I'm really weird. It's not curable. My goal is to stay stable. So don't tell me, don't even tell me I'm hoping for a cure and you never know. Don't say that. Just tell me, I hope your scan is stable. I hope you're stable. Just stay stable. Help me with a realistic goal and cheer me on to that realistic goal instead of something that's not going to happen. It's very hard. I'm alive. The treatments are tough. I'm alive and I'm still instigating some shenanigans in my life because I should, because I can.
Absolutely.
But everybody asks, the one thing everybody asks about, well, what about surgery? Why can't you just have surgery? And the issue with surgery is that if I had surgery, I'd be off of treatment for 6 to 8 weeks in order for that to heal. And my tumors are growing faster than that 6 to 8 weeks, I could end up out of control. So then we'd start playing whack-a-mole with tumors. And we don't want to do that. So for me, surgery, if I have it down the line, it would only be for comfort. So, and I know that, and my friends know that. One of my high-grade friends explains it to her friends better than I actually do, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase the way she says it. Her name is Claire, and Claire says, it's kind of like this. It's like we have a fire just smoldering in our bodies, and we treat all the little flare-ups, and we get them down. But one of these days, there's going to be a blaze, and the blaze is not going to be something we're able to control. And when that happens, I'll be gone. That's the easiest way to explain this cancer, high grade version of this cancer.
Right. I think that's a really good way to explain it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. So, now, how has this changed your outlook in life? Do you live your life to the fullest? Do you go and make a bucket list? Do you take each day to the fullest? Do you make sure that everything's in order?
Yes, thank you. I didn't make a bucket list. I make it as I go along. All of a sudden I think, I've never done that, and I feel well enough to do that, so that's going to be the next thing I do, or that's going to be this next year. I immediately knew when I was diagnosed that quality of life was way more important than quantity. There's no reason to be sick and laying in bed just to be alive for me. That's everybody's choice is so different when it comes to that. But for me, that's how I feel. Again, well, why go through all of this, especially the side effects? I was very sick last year. I've been through 5 lines of treatment, which we can talk about. And why go through all of that? Especially the side effects, and stay alive, not to totally live. So when I can, I totally live. And my frame of thought changed a lot. I'm thankful. I consider myself having a bonus life. So prior to my diagnosis, I lost this friend about 2 weeks prior to a car accident. She was the same age as me, 60, and she didn't have the chance to set up her trust or to gift her personal things to the people that she wanted to have them. She didn't have a chance to clean up and live her life like there's no tomorrow. And I look at her and I look at me, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity that I have to actually live, even if it's only 2 to 4 years. And I know that seems odd for somebody who knows that they don't have a long time, but they told me 2 to 4 years. I'm an overachiever, so I'm going for 5 or 6. So I tell people, this is my big thing. I tell people that I'm on my farewell tour. Like a rock star, they announce their farewell tour, and their final tour could be 2 years or it could be 5 years. I always laugh whenever I do something fun, and I say, yeah, this is part of my farewell tour.
That's a positive, that's a really great attitude, a way to take it. We all don't know. And we don't know. I'm sitting here, and I'm truly grateful that you're on here and explaining things like that to us. I am a low grade. I was given 5 years to live. I have lupus as well. And I'm internally grateful for the fact that I'm sitting here 22 years later, because I didn't think I was going to have that. And I look at the high grades, and I've gotten to know some of them pretty well. And just to see the positive attitude that comes out of them, and that, each day we are just so grateful for everything that we have, because we don't know. And just having that positive attitude makes your life so much better. I don't know about you, but I know I've gotten a lot of gifts from the NET community. I've gotten a lot of friends that are family that truly have enriched our lives through the years. And I'm sure there's people in the NET community that have enriched your life and made your journey a lot easier.
Very much so. I cannot imagine having done this without the support group. And I call them my chemo buddies, my cancer buddies, because my cancer buddies are really all high grades, and unfortunately, they go so fast. All of a sudden, 1 week they're on a call, and 2 weeks later they can be gone. It's that fast.
Right.
And we all know this. And because we know it's going to be fast, and our families know that it'll be fast, we try to take advantage of the time that we have, knowing that we're okay.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So this is my 5th line of treatment. I'm on my 5th line of treatment, feeling this well. It wasn't always this way.
Oh, I'm sure. Now, I believe you said you were on you finished immunotherapy?
No, I'm on immunotherapy right now. I started out on carboplatin and etoposide. I had 3 rounds of that, and that didn't work for me. That usually is the first line of treatment for all high grades. Every doctor, I think it's what's in the book. I think when they open the book and they look at neuroendocrine cancer. Yeah, exactly.
This is it.
Then I went on Captem, which is capecitabine and Temodor. I did 5 rounds of that, but I was so sick from that my quality of life was so bad. I was sleeping on the bathroom floor because of vomiting, and I just couldn't handle it. So I moved on from that. Did 3 rounds of Afinitor. Afinitor did not work at all. I had a lot of progression. And that's what's scary, is when you try something and it doesn't work and you have this major progression and
Right.
new metastases. It's not good. Then I did FOLFIRINOX, which is 5-FU, irinotecan, and oxyplatin. And that triplet, I did really well. When I saw my scan report and it said significant reduction of tumors, or of significant reduction of lesions, or something like that, I thought, oh, I found it. It's the Holy Grail, right? But I had 10 rounds, but beginning around round 6 to 7, I started waking up with these huge lips, like I had paid for the lip injections, but I didn't. And that would be all good and fine if it would have just stayed at the lips, but it started every month. It was building up, or every treatment it was building up.
Oh.
All of a sudden, every 2 weeks, I was getting more and more problems with my mouth swelling, and I really wanted to stay on it because I knew it was reducing my tumors. But so I had a couple steroid injections, but the anaphylactic effect of that got really scary, and rightfully so. My doctor said, absolutely no more. We are not, I don't care how much you want this, we are not doing this. I can't do this. Right. So I was like, okay. And the next thing I went on is what I'm on right now. I went on Ipi-Nivo, which is Opdivo and Yervoy. They told me that I had about a 20% chance of it working for me. And so I didn't go in with high hopes. And I was shocked when I had my first scan and found out that I was totally stable, not any growth whatsoever, which is awesome. So I was
best news.
Yes, and FOLFIRINOX gave me the ability to eat again, and Opdivo and Yervoy, or Ipi-Nivo, gave me the gift of being able to continue eating whatever I want, whenever I want, which is fabulous.
That's great.
I am now on only Opdivo. They drop the Yervoy after, I believe it's the first scan or the first few rounds. So I'm continuing, and again, I've been on Opdivo for about 6 rounds now.
Okay.
And I go in on Monday. The only thing that happens is I get a little tired.
Okay.
That's great.
Well, we got our fingers crossed that you stay stable. Stable is good. Shrinkage is great. Stable is good.
When this stops working, I don't know what's next. There isn't a lot left in the toolbox. So,
well, I think you have the right doctors that will come up with something.
Thank you.
I have great faith with Dr. Chauhan.
I
agree. Yeah. So, what? I don't know. Did I ask? I don't think I did. What would be some advice that you would give to a newly diagnosed high grade? Did we do that?
Oh no, but I'm very full of advice. I'm not shy in delivering advice.
Okay.
First thing is get a second opinion, and it's not to double check whether it's right or not, but get a second opinion to make good decisions for yourself. It's not about proving which doctor is wrong or right. That's not what it all boils down to. They're probably going to agree, but it will they deliver their information differently, and you learn from both of them. So, of course, I did 3. Make sure that you have a net expert on your team. And if you're high grade, ask the net expert how many high grades they've seen. There are a lot of net experts that don't see high grades. They just don't see them. So they don't have a good read on what to do with a high grade. And sometimes I think, and it makes me cringe when I hear a net specialist say, well, you have net, that's a good cancer to have.
Definitely.
The outcomes for net are very positive, but that's not the case for a high grade. So it's sometimes when you're rare, you feel kind of invisible, and you want to go, but what about me?
I
Um,
definitely agree with you. And like you said, you went for 3. You just keep going until you feel 100% confident in your treatment plan and with the doctor. Because if you don't have confidence in your doctor and you're not comfortable with your doctor, then you're just wasting your time.
you-
Um,
well, and it's not even that, but having having more expertise than one person, you have to have a team. You
Yep.
can't rely on just one doctor. You have to
Right.
have a team, and that team also includes a social worker. I have a palliative care nurse. I have, my local oncologist has 2. I'm sorry. Help me. Practitioners that work for
Right.
them, and they're huge. All of their opinions count, and all of them know different things. Um, the 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 support groups are so important. And now I wouldn't be alive. I know I wouldn't be alive, and I would tell this to a new net patient: join a support group. I waited for a little bit because I had to wrap my head around the fact that I had this.
Right.
And then a couple months in, I thought, okay, I'm ready. I need to talk to other people who have this. It's if I had not joined a support group and found the knowledge and expertise of my high grade group, I honestly don't believe I would have been alive. I would not have found Dr. Shahan. And how I found them was through NCAN. I looked up my local chapter and I realized it was led by a dear friend. I called her immediately. She referred me to Dr. Lou Zebras on Facebook. I tried joining Dr. Lou Zebras and they said, oh, no, you belong in a high grade group. And I said, okay. And they put me in a high grade group. Thank goodness. And, I also have my local friend who's a dear friend who I found out was leading the NCAN chapter. So I'm really, really fortunate. I have a small subgroup of friends that are kind of an offshoot of my high grade group. We meet every Thursday night, and probably out of the original 12, it's been a year, at least 6 are gone. Unfortunately, we've lost 6, and we know we're going to lose people, but the benefit we get is way greater than the losses we feel. Our collaborative mindset is getting the most we can out of life. And the bonds are personal and emotional rather than solely medical, whereas, the normal support group is very medical. So it's really interesting and great to have both. It's really important to have both. So, meet people that are like you and form these little groups and have regular meetings. That would be one. That would be another one. The other piece of advice I have is to start a Caring Bridge site. It's free, and it's a really good way of not having to repeat yourself over and over and over again and not remember what you told the same person. You can give them updates without people calling you and like in the beginning, calling you and texting you, how are you? When is your next treatment? All of that can be done through Caring Bridge, and it's so fabulous. It has helped me so much. And I used to post every week and then 2 weeks, and now it's usually every 3 to 4 weeks. I just post an update.
Okay. So
That's great.
That's really good information.
That's a resource I've never heard of. So
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have a lot of patients that use that Caring Gift. The other thing is why do you think it's really important for you to educate yourself on the disease and to advocate for yourself? Have you had to go and advocate for yourself to get your treatment?
Absolutely. I have. And when they were going to do, one thing, I had already done my research. I had already known what my options were. And I basically said, no, I don't want that. I want this instead. And they said, okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have the ability, if you learn what you think is best for you, calling case in point, the Lutathera. My doctor wanted to put me on Lutathera. It was after Dr. Shahan already said, you're not a strong candidate. I reached back out to Dr. Shahan and I said, my doctor wants to put me on Lutathera. And he said, try Afinitor. So I tried Afinitor. I said, no, I don't want Lutathera. I'm going to try Afinitor. Or actually, I think that might have even been when I tried FOLFIRINOX, when I was going on FOLFIRINOX. And then FOLFIRINOX worked. Right. So you have to learn what they are, what those treatments are, and make sure for you that, and it's not that my doctor is bad. It's just that he doesn't see a lot of high grade, and it's Dr. Shahan sees a lot of high grade.
Right.
So it's really important to balance and understand yourself. Also, you have to know your pathology. This is the other thing that's really important. It really sounds scary, but learning about this cancer is literally life or death for high grade. You have to learn yourself. You can't just, put your head in the sand and say, oh, my doctor's going to carry me through this. They don't know. Most doctors don't know. High grade and neuroendocrine cancer in general is way too uncommon. It's not common. So now, whereas most NET patients with well-defined cells are low grade, all NECs, all neuroendocrine carcinoma patients have, I call them blurry cells. They have poorly defined cells. So you have sharp and you have blurry. That's the way I explain it. They're those who have those cells, I'm more like them in terms of how I'm treated, not like a traditional NET patient.
Right.
Because, there's me and there's more of me. There are more of me. There are more people that are high grade NETs that
absolutely
people aren't aware of. So, I'm that rare NET patient with well-differentiated cells that reproduce quickly. And when a treatment doesn't work, within a few weeks, I already developed new mets or significant enough growth that I have got to move on. And if I were to be treated like a low-grade patient, and I run into patients that are high-grade NET whose doctors are like, oh, well, we'll see you at the end of next month. And they're on nothing.
Right. No.
And you tell them, no, don't do that.
No, you can't do that. You can't do that.
You have to advocate yourself. You have to say, no, I don't have the time to wait till the end of next month. I'm a high grade. I grow quickly. If you can't see me, I'm going to go somewhere that can.
And
you
definitely.
You just have to advocate for yourself.
Right. And it's true. You have to advocate, you have to ask the doctor, how many high grades have you actually treated? You may be a NET specialist, but how many of those NET patients you have, how many are high grades?
Yeah.
Yes.
And even the regular specialists and stuff like that, they can sometimes be wrong about a treatment. I'll give you an example. When I got diagnosed, I went to the top specialist in the world, and he wanted to start me on chemo right away. And I am a low grade and a stage 4 low grade. And he wanted to start me on this chemo. And my oncologist was like, oh, no, you're not. He's like, you're not going to do that. He said, you have lupus, you have a platelet issue. He said, you're going to give yourself chemo that's going to kill off every good cell along with all the bad cells. You're not doing it. And so, if I had listened to him, we've talked to several specialists, they said I would have been dead. Now, he was all wonderful. Was the number one doctor in the U.S. He's great, but he wasn't for me. So I really encourage people is to get a second and third opinion, but make sure that you feel comfortable with the doctor. Make sure you know what treatment you're getting. We went on a cruise once and talked to a patient who was she was kind of on the higher side. I think it was like 20%. She had been in a clinical trial down in Moffitt for over 5 years. She had no idea what drug she was taking, what the dosage was, or anything like that, and had no scans. And I said, you are putting poison into your body to kill off the bad cells. It's going to kill off some of the good cells. But this is your body, and when you're putting in, you really need to know exactly what you're putting in. What dosage are you putting in? How long are you going to be on it? What kind of results are you going to get? And, like I said, she was like, oh, I trust my doctor. And I said, that's great. I'm glad you trust your doctor. But what if, God forbid, an emergency and you're not down in Florida and you get admitted into the hospital? You need to know and tell them exactly what kind of drugs you're taking. Because what if they give you something for something else that contradicts? So it's really important that you advocate for yourself. It's important that you get second, third opinions, that you find a high grade, especially with high grades, that you find a high grade specialist, a net specialist you can talk to. Ask them if they work with other net specialists as well, because sometimes you can find a local doctor that will be willing to work with one of the high grade net specialists and get the answers that you need. But just to end, is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
Yes, buy the ticket.
And what do you mean by buy the ticket?
What I mean is, if you wait till later could be never. And so if you can handle it, do what you want to do now. Just buy the ticket and go. It could be a ticket to a festival, a concert, could be an airline ticket. It's really important to buy the ticket, make the reservation, go dine with friends, get out. Even if all you can do is one thing a week, just get out and do that one thing. And make it worth your time. I've literally gone to demonstrations in the park for things that I believe in with my walker and my wig or my chemo cap, and had people come up to me and thank me for being there because they know that I'm there and I'm ill, but it's important for me to go. So just go do it, because this is your opportunity, and your opportunity might not be there. And I know that what I do is I look at it as 6 months. If I'm feeling really good right now, I feel like I can buy tickets for the next 6 months. Beyond that, I'm a little weary or a little wary of buying the ticket and not being able to follow through and do what I do. Then you buy the insurance. Okay? But it's plans, I plan about 6 months out, and then I always have something on my plate to look forward to, because if you don't have something to look forward to, it can get really hard especially when you're really sick, when you're really feeling the side effects of treatment and you don't have anything on your docket. It's rough. What I did was I literally scheduled my travel around my chemo and my chemo around my travel. And I started buying tickets and I started going places, and people started coming to see me. And so I've had a really great life in general, but I've had a really great life since I've been diagnosed, even while I was really sick.
Yeah, you kind of got diagnosed in the middle of COVID, right?
I did, October of 2020. Yeah.
So that was even hard too.
I walked into the cancer center alone the first time because you couldn't have anybody with you. I had to go to chemo alone. scared to death.
Right.
And there was a guy that was standing behind me in line. And I thought, ooh, he's young like me. I wonder what his story is. And I went in and I sat down in the chair. They got me in and they explained to me, you're going to get carboplatin and etoposide and flush and blah, blah, blah. So they go through the whole thing. And then all of a sudden they walk away to get my, drugs set up, and they will bring him in, and they sit him at a chair in the little cubby across from me, kind of angled facing me. And I look at him and I go, hi, how you doing today? Through our masks, we're like, yeah, hi, you're here too. And all of a sudden they come over to him and they start telling him, well, you're going to get carboplatin and etoposide. And I'm like, I wonder what he has. And they go through exactly the same as what they just told me. And they walk away from him. And I said, I hope you don't mind me asking you what kind of cancer you have. And he said, I have neuroendocrine. And I said, you're kidding. I thought that was rare. And he said, it is. And I said, but that's what I have. And he said, you're kidding. And then after then, we were on the exact same chemo schedule. So our friend, we became good friends with the person who schedules, who would set us up, and we'd sit in chairs across from each other for every treatment, and we would be there for each other. And he was high grade, which is even more interesting.
Wow.
And when I lost him, it was absolutely horrible.
I'm
but
sure it's devastating.
He had been on other treatments prior to getting carboplatin and etoposide. So he lasted about 3.5 years. And Ken was spectacular for me. I can't tell you how much he affected me, and I'm choking up because of it.
Oh.
But he really helped me. He helped me understand how to say carboplatin and etoposide. He helped me understand how to read my reports. We would pull them up, and when I no longer had carboplatin and etoposide, I would go in and I would sit with him, because I'm a cancer patient and I can get in behind the buzz door. Yeah, I can get past the buzzer. So I would go in and I would sit with him during his treatments, and he would do the same.
And that's wonderful. And I can't thank you enough for being here and sharing your story. And Shari, we will be praying for you that everything stays stable, because stable is good.
Yes,
well, we know that your farewell tour will last as long as like Kiss, and they're on their like 25 or 30th year of their farewell tour. So
that would be nice. I'm scheduling 6 months out on my farewell tour right now. I've got a couple things cooking.
So where are we going?
I am actually going to my class reunion. I have a class reunion that's coming up, which is really great. A 45th class reunion in July. Where else am I going? I'm going to be going to DC for Take Your Mother to Work Day.
Oh.
My daughter it works from home, but her office is in DC. So I'm very much looking forward to, seeing where she works now the last couple of years, and being in DC with her, even if I'm at the hotel while she's at work. It doesn't really matter. As long as I have something, I have a food and wine festival tickets, and 2 weeks from now, I'm going to a beach house with a group of girlfriends. So yeah, I have stuff on my plate.
That's good. Just keep planning every 6 months.
Thank you. And thank you for letting me share my story, because I do think it's really important for both the high grades and the oncologists and the low grades to know how different we are, and yet how alike we are.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important.
Yeah, and that's kind of why why we brought the high grades at the national meeting, was to show that there is another side to this disease, but deep down inside, we're all rare. We're all have neuroendocrine, but we are zebras, because none of us are the same. None of us.
Right. That's right.
We want to, especially We want to bring everybody together as a family. We want people to work together. We want to get more information out there for the high grades. We want to get more education for the high grades. We want to get more education, not only for the patients, but get more education for the physicians, because there's not enough physicians out there. And, we have made great strides in the last 20 years of NCAN, but there is still so much more that needs to be done.
Thank you, Shari, so much for sharing your story. It's really, really awesome that you were willing to come on and talk to us about it. And again, it's super important that you guys are represented. The high grades are represented in this space as well. So thank you again. Once again, everybody, please make sure help us beat the algorithm. How do we create awareness? We beat the algorithm. So like, subscribe, share this episode with everybody. Give us 5-star reviews. It's super important because it just helps create more awareness for neuroendocrine and for NCAN. Again, follow us out on social medias, Net Cancer Aware, and go to netcancerawareness.org for all of our information for all the programs we have coming up. We have a Spanish speaking program. We've got our live stream Q&As, and of course, Let's Get Real, where we share patient stories and we share doctor presentations. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Maryann.
Thank you.